and welcome to our first episode of X Gets to Square. I am Anthony Krysiewicz, and with us today is Bailey Race. Bailey Race hails from Minneapolis, Minnesota. He likes gaming, music, and movies, and also is an artist, just in case you didn't know, for all of you ladies out there looking for an artist. Also with us today is Dan Mumford, coming from Dead Centre, London, England. He likes going to the movies, video games, spending some quiet time with his better half, sometimes, and he likes to post photos of his dog online. And today we are here for the first episode of X Gets to Square, and you're probably wondering, what the hell is that show? And it's real simple. We're still figuring it out, but we're here, and we have some amazing people, and that is how it's gonna roll. So, let me cut the great music, and let's get into this.
I was enjoying that a lot. That was really good.
It was very good. I like it.
Yeah.
That
You
was
like
a very
that?
surprise addition to that.
Yeah.
You know, at first, I did order this tacky 80s game show host, like, outfit, right? And I put it on this morning, and it was too small, and I was gonna, surprise everybody with this, tacky game show host thing. Yeah, that just didn't work out. So, but we're here, and it's interesting, because this is the third time that I've had both of you on some show of some sort together with me. So, round 3 for both of you. But the funny thing about all of those previous times, we've all talked about pop culture, movies, music, and how it affects us, and how it kind of helped you create getting into art and stuff. But one other thing we talked heavily about in both of those shows was the Justice League.
Yeah.
Which has been a clever ongoing thing about this. Well, first of all, when I first talked to Dan about it, it was before the movie even came out, and we were like, because it just got announced that they were going to be making it, and we're like, hey, I wonder if this is going to be any good, and we were optimistic. When Bailey was on, it was just about to come out, and we were all hyped about it, and now it's out, and I think we can be spoiler alert free now because it's been out for about over a month.
Yeah.
We can talk about it.
Absolutely.
Super down. I've consumed 20 hours of Zack Snyder's Justice League, if you can find the amount of times that I've watched it. So I'm ready and raring to go to discuss this.
That's too many hours. That's too
It's
much.
way too many. It's almost a full day. If I watch it one more time, it's literally one full day of Zack Snyder's Justice League. So I don't know if I'm going to push myself to the limit and kind of reach the parameters of the human condition with 24 hours of Zack Snyder's Justice League, but I figured it might be worth the risk. Maybe take it to some higher plane of existence if I do.
Dan, have you watched it all the way through more than once?
No, I have not. I've got to be honest. I've watched it once, and even then, I watched it over 2 nights. I did it in 3 parts and another 3 parts. And the only time I did rewatch some of it was to compare with the original version of the film, because I watched a lot of those videos afterwards where it's like, this is what it originally was like, and this is the new version. And some of the changes are quite astounding. They're really significant. But mainly I watched the ending, the last 15, 20 minutes again, because the ending is very different with how the Flash is really important to it, whereas he was nothing in the original. So that's the main thing I've done with rewatching it. But just one main watch through. I haven't got time for another 16 hours of Zack Snyder's Justice League.
In my defense, I do it while I work. I kind of throw it on my phone while I'm working on my iPad and my laptop, and so it is 20 hours of Zack Snyder's Justice League, but it's not 20 hours of consistently watching Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's probably at least 13 hours of just listening to Zack Snyder's Justice League. This is not sponsored by Zack Snyder's Justice League.
So the next time you get a Billy Strings poster and there's this Batman symbol in the back corner because it was just kind of embedded in his head as he was drawing the poster, that was during the 20-hour romp known as the Zack Snyder Justice League push.
100%. It's a historical thing.
I'd really like for someone to count up how many times we say Zack Snyder's Justice League as well in this, because it's already 25 or something.
Put a little counter down on the bottom that
Yeah.
just dings every time it comes on.
Oh Jesus! You know, the thing that kills me though is like I really want to punch Josh Whedon in the face because he killed
100%.
like this whole idea. Because here's the thing that I love about the new movie, and I hate about it. I love it because I enjoyed the 4 hours and 5 minutes or 7 minutes, whatever it is, of the movie. I love the ending. I love this tease we got. And then after it was all said and done with, I'm done watching the movie. I had this big home theater. I woke up at 7 o'clock in the morning the day it came out. I ran downstairs like it was Christmas morning. I popped that shit on. My wife came downstairs and's like, "You haven't moved." I'm like, "Yeah, good. Just leave me alone. I'm good. I'm alive. Just do what you got to do." The movie's over. I'm excited. And then it hit me. We're never going to have a conclusion to the story.
No.
Yeah. Well, but maybe I kind of get the feeling that, well, no, I get the feeling that the people at Warner Brothers or whoever's in charge don't really know how to read the room. Like as far as I can tell, people like that they did this and would like to see more of it. And also with the way they're doing stuff, I don't see a reason why they couldn't carry on with it and do the other things like the Batman with Robert Pattinson and the Joker films and stuff. It sounds like they can kind of do it all and get away with it. And why not? Mm. And I think people want that as well.
Well, yeah, with the Flash idea of him being able to go through the Flashverse and get to wherever he needs to go. I mean, hell, you could mix all of them together. I mean, I'm curious to see how the new Flash movie, which I think they just started filming, I guess.
Yeah, finally.
Movie. So, because nothing's leaked out about it. Like the other movies have, the Spider-Man movies had stuff leaked. Nothing's leaked out about it. I'm curious, are we going to get, Nipples George Clooney in this? Are we going to get, Val, are we going to get, Val Kilmer? I mean, he's not in the...
Supposedly, wasn't it confirmed he is doing it?
So Keaton definitely did confirm, and there was talks of like they were trying to pull in like all the different Batman. There is a very knowledgeable person on Reddit that had he said he 100% confirmed that Nicolas Cage was going to be like a very quick part of him as Superman in the movie. And just to kind of be like a fun little like click, but they were trying to tie in everything. And
you're talking this is for the Flashpoint movie.
Yeah.
Man, if they give us Nicolas Cage as Superman, then this will be the greatest film ever made. Because have you seen because there's loads of stuff online about that film that was meant to be, including I think the documentary about it.
I don't know if the documentary ever came out.
I think it did. It's one of those things where I've watched so many documentaries in the studio while I work, I can't remember if I've even watched it. But there's a lot of good test footage of Nicolas Cage as Superman, and it's incredible. And the film itself sounded absolutely nuts. So if any way we're going to get some of that, then that would be fantastic. And I'm all for them doing this weird sort of multiverse stuff where it brings in all this continuity from, 30, nearly 40 years of cinema with comic books. If they can do this with DC and also with Marvel, then I'm all for it. That sounds amazing to me.
Are you familiar with like the Arrowverse CW TV shows at all? Like, Arrow and Flash and all of that. They've been doing this really interesting thing that for the last 5 years, once every year, they have this giant crossover event between all of the shows. And the biggest one that they had, I think a year or two ago, they brought in 4 different versions of Superman that they were traveling between the infinite Earths of the DC universe. They just completely scrapped the idea of the New 52. The New 52 came around and they were just like, no, we're doing an entirely different thing. And so they went to a bunch of different infinite Earths, and they went to who voiced Batman for the animated series?
Kevin, what's his name? Kevin something.
Not
Kevin Conroy, is that it?
Yeah. Kevin. Yeah. So they had Kevin Conroy on the show as Batman.
I saw that. Yeah.
So it was really cool that they kind of already did some sort of a crossover event to the magnitude of having more than 2 or 3 versions of the DC continuity hero, but
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see them like really like get into the meat and potatoes of like the extended DCEU and like pull in like, you know, like you said, the last 30 years of entertainment that like
Yeah.
Marvel and DC has been like kind of dipping their
Yeah.
toes into, but really just like going completely into it and just diving in head first.
I mean, there's no reason they can't do that, and that's kind of the reason that the idea of the multiverse exists in comics, so that in a way it makes everything canon all the time, regardless of what's happening. And it's why you can have such stupid stories that don't make any sense, but then they're really fun, and it's sort of like it all works together in this beautiful way. So I kind of, you know, if they can do that with movies, that'd be amazing. And you've just reminded me, didn't they do something on the CW Flash show where Ezra Miller was on it? He
So
had like
Ezra
a
Miller,
1 minute thing, yeah.
yeah, he showed up, and it's funny because I'm a big fan of the Grant Gustin Flash for like the Flash TV show. And they had it was actually during that event that Ezra Miller like, you know, zoomed in, and it's funny because the Ezra Miller from Justice League is kind of like the year one Batman of the Flash. And so like he's very new to his powers. He doesn't fully know that the multiverse exists, doesn't fully know that like, you know, the Speed Force gives him the ability to, you know, traverse time and space rather than just run really fast. And so he gets there and he's just like, this is not supposed to be possible. What's going on? But then, you know, Grant Gustin's Flash has been doing it for 5 years. And so he's just like, he's kind of just freaking out because Ezra Miller's suit is just like all techy and like armored and stuff like that. And so they make like banter back and forth where Ezra Miller's like, yours is so breathable. And then Grant Gustin is like, yours is so safe. And it's just, it's a really funny back and forth. But I think that's one of the first times, you know, outside of the new Marvel stuff that they've been doing since Kevin Feige stepped in, that you really have that like cinematic and television crossover between the two on like specific properties and stuff like that. So that was just like, you know, that was just a super cool kind of like fan service moment where they're
really
just
good.
being like, this is coming. So,
and I think that's a really nice way of doing it as well. And I think it's a real shame that they never did that with the Netflix Marvel shows and like actually pull them in. I'm curious to see if they are going to do something with that coming up. They've sort of said they might.
Yeah, they announced the other day, actually it was last Thursday, it was announced that Disney had said, Disney Marvel, what it was, that they were now that they got the licensing and the ownership back of those properties and it's been over the time frame, that you start seeing them pop up. I know that, what's it called? The Daredevil's supposed to be in the new Spider-Man movie, supposed to be making a cameo in that. I think they're supposed to be doing something with Jessica Jones and the Punisher coming up. I mean, the thing with Disney that they've been really clever about doing these shows on Disney Plus is that they're like they can just throw things at you without even know they're coming, like last minute, and get you excited and hyped, and then their viewership numbers are huge, and they're making so much money on the back end because here's a clever fact for you: Disney Plus has the lowest number of cancellations for a streaming service in over a 2-year period than any other streaming service out there. It has a higher longevity of keeping viewers on than any other streaming service, and I think it's because they have that ability to surprise you.
Yeah, I think they've also got a lot coming up that's really got people interested. I think for a long time, I mean, you know, Disney Plus came out for us in the UK. It was a good sort of 3-6 months later than the US, I think. As in, The Mandalorian had already finished airing in America before it came to the UK. And then when it finally did come along, it was like, okay, so there's lots of Disney stuff. There's The Mandalorian. And that was kind of it. But actually now that we're 2 years into the cycle of Disney Plus, I feel like they've sort of got a schedule really going nicely where obviously Falcon and Winter Soldier just finished, which I'm still yet to watch, annoyingly.
I won't talk about it then.
Well, I mean, we can get onto the fact that Disney basically ruined what happens at the end of that with their marketing anyway.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Absolutely. Like the day the finale airs, there's a poster out there telling you what happens. Like, come on.
Yeah,
anyway.
They were just like, cool, everyone's been watching it. Anyone that has ever existed has seen the show as it's aired live.
I've got stuff to do, man. I haven't had the chance. Anyway, but now I think it's like a few weeks and then Loki starts, right? And then after
Loki starts June 11th. Yeah.
Like, that's pretty good, actually. Like, that's enough time that I will just go, okay, I'll just keep the subscription, you know? And if they can do that every 3 months for a year, then I probably would just keep it, to be honest with you. Like, they haven't put much else on there that interests me. Like some stuff occasionally, but
I will say that Friday nights in this household, we've been catching up with the new Mighty Duck show, which
ah,
it's hit or miss. Like I don't know, it's just a little too goofy for me. But there's another show which hits at my heartstrings, which is kind of weird. But it's got Uncle Jesse in it as the basketball coach for an old girls team, and he was like fired from being a basketball coach because he threw a chair when he was like with a top college coach, and he threw a chair, hit a referee, and broke his leg, and then they're like, "You're fired. You can't play college basketball." So the only job he could get is like in this old girls school in California, and so he's now the head coach of this program. And so, the craziest thing is, I don't know why I dig this show so much, but there I am, popcorn in hand, like, oh my God, he's yelling at the girls. Oh my God, the girls are all, these girls have the hots for Uncle Jesse. And it's like the weirdest thing. And I'm like,
gosh,
this is like a weird Disney show. And I'm sitting there, and then
that is a weird show.
And then after that show's over, I go right into Bonkers, because that reminds me of my 90s childhood self as, I don't know if you guys remember that. It was the Cheetah Cat as a police detective. It was a Disney cartoon back in the early 90s, and it was Bonkers, and he was this great. This show makes no sense, but it is the most clever thing. So that I usually watch my Uncle Jesse's show. I forgot what it's called, and then I go right into Bonkers.
No idea. I have no idea what you're talking about. Maybe
Yeah,
that was
I wasn't
never over
born
here.
yet.
Yeah, I was gonna
I
say,
wasn't
yeah.
born yet, so I'm like, I don't know. That just exists outside of my peripherals. But I know, Dan, I've talked to you a couple of times about this, but there's a show that's been on lately that I've just been like absolutely obsessed with that airs every Friday. It's called Invincible.
Oh
It's
yeah,
based
yeah,
on the Robert Kirkman comic book series.
yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal in my opinion. Probably like I would say it's up there in the ranks with like the MCU produced TV shows that they've been putting out. I would even say it's better than Falcon. And Falcon was really good. I really enjoyed Falcon. Wouldn't put it above WandaVision, but that's just because WandaVision was just like absolutely
It's pretty
phenomenal.
special, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's super good, and it's this like really weird, like gory, funny, dramatic cartoon that's animated in traditional like cell animation, so it looks like the early like 90s and 2000s, like Static Shock and stuff like that. So that way it like looks like it's from that era, and it's fantastic. It's
Yeah.
so good.
Well, I read the first volume of Invincible back when it came out. I'd never kept up with it, but it was always interesting to me because it was one of the first comics I read where it was sort of mashing up the sort of the clean aesthetic of American superheroes and ultra violence, you know?
Yeah.
It was one of the first times I think I read something like that. And then I sort of went back through comic book history a bit and read up more stuff like things by people like Warren Ellis and what's it called, The Authority. And there's just, there's quite a lot of people that sort of tried to dissect what superheroes are and can be. And Invincible I thought was pretty good at that. What I read of it anyway. But I've heard the animation, the new show is quite good as well. But I wonder if that's something that came about because the Boys did so well, because obviously that was like such a hit, and it was a real sort of middle finger to the Marvel films, I would say, sort of like, here's your superheroes and here's everyone getting exploded all over the place.
I was gonna ask if you guys have seen The Boys, actually, so that's a good segue.
Love it. Yeah.
I watched 2 episodes and I just didn't dig it. Just didn't do anything.
Really?
Well,
But do you know what I really do dig? Bonkers. This show is the shit right here.
okay. I recognize that. I don't think I ever watched it.
It is.
Maybe I did watch it.
It is listen. It is the worst, greatest show you possibly watch. If you have Disney Plus, I highly recommend going to watch Bonkers.
What happens in Bonkers? What does he do?
He's a cop.
Can we get a synopsis?
He's a cop.
Let me see if what does Google say about Bonkers? Here we go. Bonkers. A zany bobcat leaves a falling showbiz career behind to join the police department and help officers solve crimes related to cartoon stars in Tinseltown. Oh wait, Tinseltown is for where Roger the Rabbit was. So I'm wondering if
Yeah, I
there's
was gonna
crossover.
say. Do you know what? I bet you that aired in the UK on like Saturday mornings, and I probably did watch it occasionally. There's a lot of shows like that I have very, very vague memories of, and occasionally something like that happens where an image just comes up and I go, oh, whoa, like just memories come flooding back, and you're sort of like, I used to love this thing, watch it all the time. I've done that a lot recently with toys, actually, like just having these moments where I remember a toy that I had when I was, I don't know, 8 years old or something, and then go on a website that has a complete database of all of the toys that were available and all the cartoons that were around it. There was one called, I was looking at yesterday, actually, called Centurions. Does anyone know what that is?
Centurions.
I mean,
sounds vaguely familiar.
Bailey, you were definitely not even on this earth yet. I'm sorry.
Well, it sounds okay. It sounds vaguely familiar. I have the internet. I'm sure it has popped up at some point, but
like I think it came out in the 80s, and I watched it when I was maybe 8 or so. Like, as in, it was an old show when I watched it, but it had like the coolest toys ever, and it was one of those ones where it was definitely just made to sell the toys. I think the toys came first, probably. Much like I think, well, that's what happened with He-Man as well. I think the toys came first with that.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Have you guys seen the TV show The Toys That Made Us?
Yeah, it's
It's like
amazing.
the docu-series about all the toys and the shows and whatnot.
Yeah.
That is, because that's a similar thing to how Transformers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles really like broke into like the global phenoms that they were. Is TMNT started as that kind of like B-list like small town comic book thing, and then like they started doing merchandising, and then they did the TV show after that, and so it was
Yeah.
just like it became that like really cool kind of natural segue between the different elements of that like that property. And then I mean like Transformers was just, I mean, you could tell the second that would have hit the market that would have just been like phenomenal. Like you're gonna have kids that can be like, I can make the toy into something else, and it's and the parents are like, cool, you're gonna be completely sidetracked from this toy that can turn into a car for 6 hours. Go and enjoy your little toy, Timmy. Just go and enjoy.
Well, it's funny you mentioned toys and how like it brings back memories. So the other day I was perusing eBay, and I found these things. I don't know if they were in you. Bailey, you're definitely too young to remember this, but Dan, do you remember the Food Fighters from the 90s? Because I had all of these things, and these were the greatest damn toys in the world, because you could have had Mr. French Fry fighting Mr. Cookie Sandwich, and there is nothing better than having Mr. Hot Dog and Mr. Hamburger fight each other.
I'm sort of lost for words, actually. Like I have the vaguest of memories for that. Again, I think maybe that's something that didn't make it across to the UK. But all I will say is that whatever that sort of brown one was, that looked like a dog had had an accident or something. Yeah, those were some real interesting toys. I mean, I think me and Bailey are probably okay missing out on those ones.
Wait a minute.
Well, I was going to say, there's one of the characters that's in the middle of the screen there. It looks, and Anthony, you would probably be very familiar with this, one of the Pearl Jam posters that was created for a Chicago show that had like the Al Capone hot dog. Taco or a hot dog right there in the middle kind of looks like that character.
You're right. 100% right on that. Yeah, so when these came out, it was right when like California Raisins had got cut off TV, and they were like, "Hey, the California Raisins did amazing. Let's throw shoes and hands on a pizza slice that is going to be angry with a hamburger, and they're going to fight each other." And I'm going to tell you something. They had this I'm looking at it now on eBay. It was called like I had all these damn toys. I don't know why I was so obsessed with these, but it had like this massive cart thing that looked like a ketchup bottle and had all these guns on it, and you could put the action figures in there and fight the other things. Little Anthony sitting in his room, and I had my Ghostbusters too, because I had my Ghostbuster house, which I still own. It's in my movie room, and we would just sit there and I'd take on the world with my Food Fighters.
I mean, I would say the 80s and the 90s seemed to be the eras when they would literally just try anything out and see if they could make it into a toy. Um, like, I don't know about like the 2000s onwards, but I have a feeling toys were a little bit not safer, but they knew what worked. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Whereas I don't know that you'd get a toy line made up of hot dogs and pizzas anymore. Maybe
Well,
I might be wrong.
I can tell you that when I was a kid, do you guys remember the movie Chicken Run? That animated
Yeah,
movie that gives
Yeah.
everyone nightmares whenever they think about it. So when I was a kid, I had a toy that was from Chicken Run, and it was this weird car thing that when you pulled it back, it was one of those cars that like you pull it back and it charges up that energy, and then you let it go and it just goes off on its own. But at the same time, it shot little chicken pot pie discs out of the front while it was going, and so you couldn't control when it shot the discs or when it was going forward, so it just like automatically, like when you let it go, it's just like as it like drove forward. And it was such a weird toy because it's just like, what am I going to enjoy? Like, am I going to enjoy the 2 seconds of pulling it back and then the 10 minutes that it takes to pick up this chicken pot pies? So
yeah.
it's just like it doesn't make any sense. But then the toy that really was like, that it was like my main thing when I was growing up, there was this thing called Rescue Rangers, which was based
Mm.
on this
Huh.
kids TV show when I was a kid. And I mean, it would have been a kids TV show that you guys were definitely too old to watch when
Oh,
it was
don't you
around when I
dare!
was
That I love
that
Rescue
age.
Rangers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
had the aircraft carrier from Rescue Rangers, the thing that you could put in the little lenticular like thing into the jumbotron on the airship carrier, and you like move this little dial, and then it played these little like lenticular kind of like vision things that went back and forth of natural disasters that you had to decide which rescue ranger to send to like report to the scene and stuff like that. And that came with this like little helicopter that you press this button and the blades spun around. It was like this crazy innovative toy
Wait.
design.
Are we
Well,
talking about Chip and Dale Rescue
yeah, Rescue
Rangers?
Rangers. Yeah.
No, 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 no. No, 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 no.
See,
We're
that's the
talking
thing.
See,
no, we're
I don't.
talking Rescue Rangers. That's like an entirely separate entity. It's not
What's
Chip and Dale
Rescue
Rescue
Rangers then?
Rangers.
I'm about to Google search this.
I mean,
Yeah, that's what I'm getting confused
I
about.
Yeah, because I'm thinking Chip and
maybe
Dale,
I'm
and that
calling
now
you the
that
wrong
show
thing.
was the shit.
Yeah, but that came
No,
out
no,
in
no.
1989.
No. I'm talking. Oh God, no. It was. Oh, sorry. Rescue Heroes. They're called
Oh.
Rescue
Okay, we're all gonna
Heroes.
look up Rescue Heroes now.
Oh yeah, my son was into that.
Oh,
That's
that's
kind of
something
weird. That's
completely different.
really fucking weird to say that my kid was into the same thing as Bailey was, but I mean,
I'm sorry. I'm a child. That
but hey, I will tell you
I
this.
mean,
couldn't
look,
control when I was born.
Dan, I want to show you something. I think this should go on your Christmas list here. So for you, you can get the aerial assault
oh
on
my god.
Cookback Mountain to add your food fighters in it. You can actually get the combat carton or the barbecue bomber. Or this one has hot dogs and looks like barbecue beans on the side with a helicopter on the. This is, I'm telling you, this is gonna have the biggest comeback of all time. It's coming.
Who who would want this instead of GI Joe? I don't understand. I do not understand.
Well,
Are you like the only one that
You
would
did.
enjoy
You
that
wanted
over
it. You
GI
wanted
I
Joe?
did. I'm actually as it's crazy because I just bid on two things on eBay now that we're researching this during the
No.
show.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
my wife's gonna
Were
fucking
you,
kill
were
me.
you doing that while we were talking? You were bidding on eBay.
Yeah. I was
Oh
looking for
man.
images. I found that, and then I ended up bidding on it while I was there. I'm like, come on.
I mean, do you know what? I do think actually I'm at the point where, I mean, currently I don't have the room, but when we move, we're probably going to move out of London at some point in the next few years. So we'll have like triple the amount of space. And as soon as that happens, I am planning on probably delving deep into collecting something like GI Joe. Actually, like really going into just letting my nostalgia run free because that was the one for me. That and Turtles, maybe Turtles as well. I don't know.
The
Do you
big
guys
nostalgia for
watch Pawn
me.
Stars?
Oh,
Oh
sorry.
yeah.
Oh,
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask if you guys watch Pawn Stars.
I've seen a bit.
Yeah.
Seen a little bit of it.
Okay, that's my very shameful binge that I watch while working. That's like my go-to working show. And it's to the point where like if they give someone a really low bid, I go, come on. Like, I actually like react to the show way more than I probably should. But they had this guy on that had a Transformers collection that they brought an appraiser to come in and appraise it, and it's a $35,000 collection because this
Wow.
guy had, it was literally a guest bedroom where every inch of the floor had a Transformer like toy on it. And so it
Wow.
was like absolutely filled with all of it. And the guy gives him the appraisal, and then Rick, the guy that works at the pawn shop, is like, "I'll give you 12,000 for it." And I'm just like, "Are what?" And the guy was like, "I can't do that." And Rick was like, "Are you sure you're gonna have trouble selling it?" And the guy was like, "I've literally been collecting this since I was like 15 years old. Like, I'm not gonna give you the whole collection for $20,000 less
No,
than what it was appraised at." So
that's sad. Yeah.
See, for me, when I moved into the house I'm in now, then I got the bigger space. The first thing I did was I'm like, I regretted not having all my Ghostbuster stuff from when I was a kid. Like, I loved having the Ghostbuster house, the firehouse, and the car, and I even got to the point where like I was buying the piece because I could only find a broken car. I was buying the pieces to put it back together and like get the
Oh
original
man.
stickers for it, just to like have it. And it's funny because like I'll have my nieces and nephews come over to touch it, like, listen. It's not a fucking toy. What are you doing? Get your little skeevy
Yeah.
hands
Yeah.
off my Ghostbuster house.
Yeah.
But it's crazy because you know it with us in our age group, Bailey, you haven't gotten there yet. But with me and Dan in that age group of like, you know, like we're kind of being the majority of like the consumer market. And a lot of us
Yeah.
have that, and we're more nostalgic than like our parents or even our grandparents. Like I feel as though like they would like throw shit away on a daily basis, didn't care. We kind of have more of that like, hey, we have like emotional connection and like it brings back to our memories.
Yeah.
So we dig into like getting those things with like you and GI Joes or like you and Rescue Heroes that came out 2 years ago. It's just different for all of us, you know.
hang on. Run it back for a sec. It for sure came out more than 15 years ago. It was I wish, trust me, I wish I grew up in the golden age of like action figures and collectible toys. But unfortunately, I was born in 1997, and
Jesus
so
Christ.
I missed all of the good stuff. And I'm doing my part by going back and taking in all of the pop culture stuff from before that. I don't have the toys, but I am very, very into Legos. And so
Well,
that
that's good.
is, I think, the bridge between our generations in terms of collectible
Mm.
toys, to the point where I was walking in Target yesterday to get groceries, and I walked by, there was they had the Ecto 1 Lego set that was a
Oh.
3,000 piece set. And I
Mm.
literally stopped for a second, looked at the price tag, and I was like,
Mm.
someday. Because
Well,
it's a $200 set.
I actually for my birthday, my partner, she got me a giant Lego set because she was sort of like it was really funny on my birthday. I opened up, she was like, "Is this okay? Is this good?" And she got me the Avengers helicarrier. Like
Oh.
it's huge,
Ooh.
and it's got like cogs and everything. You move it along, and the propellers whirl. And do you know what? I sort of for a month I put aside like 2 hours at the weekend just to do a little bit of it. I really savored it. I really enjoyed it. And now I've got this Avengers helicarrier. I don't really have anywhere to put it.
Do you have it within arm's reach to show what it looks like?
I don't. It's at home. But actually, maybe it should come to the studio. Yeah. But after that, I was like, do you know what? The process of putting Lego together is a really nice thing to do, and it's not something I'd done since I was a kid. But I think that, you know, as I do get older, I find those things are really, really good for just focusing the mind as well. And just the other day, I was just in the supermarket, and they had a Lego section, and weirdly, they had like a Ghost Rider Lego set, and it was a car, a Ghost Rider car, and also I think it had Venom or Carnage in it as well, so like a really weird set.
Mixture?
Yeah. And it was only like, well, it was the equivalent of like $10. I was like, yes, I'm going to buy that.
We get HBO Max, but Dan gets a Ghost Rider Carnage crossover Lego set for $10. I think like there's a clear winner here between the battle of
really
pop
good.
culture.
Yeah.
because that's
Yeah, that
crazy.
was good. And then also the other day I saw my dad finally after like 7 months or something. And he came to visit me, and he didn't tell me about this, but he also brought my. We'd been talking a lot about all the stuff that he's kept from when I was younger. That's at his house in the attic. And he has all my GI Joes still, all of my Lego. He has our old PlayStation, all the PlayStation games, and also he had the Sega, or the Sega Mega Drive, but you guys would call it the Sega Genesis. He had that and like a collection of about 30 games, and he brought all of that down, the games and the Sega Genesis. And so now I've got that at home, and I'm gonna try and set it up to work on my 4K HD TV. I think you can do it quite easily.
Oh yeah. There's a piece on Amazon you get for $10 and you have it. But
Yeah.
so
yeah.
what you're telling me is we will not be seeing any new work coming out from Dan Mumford for the next 6 months.
Maybe not. I could quite happily slow down the working just to become like a nostalgia YouTube channel or something like that. I think that would, I think I could quite happily do that now.
Well, it's interesting. We're talking about. Go ahead, Bailey.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, I'm gonna show my age here. You guys, you had the Sega Genesis, all of that stuff.
He had a PS4.
My dad had an Atari when he was a kid. But by the time that I was a kid and I was old enough to actually understand what video games were, my first system that I had that was like mine was the Nintendo GameCube, and I loved that thing. It was fantastic. I had this not Super Mario, it was Super Smash Brothers Brawl. It was a puff bubble skin that went around the entirety of it, and then on top of that, I had the Game Boy Advance plug-in that was this like big thick block that you put on the bottom of the GameCube, and you can literally just play your Game Boy Advance games on the TV, like however big it was. And so I was on cloud nine because I got to play Pokemon Fire Red on a 30-inch TV compared to the 2-inch Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
And that was like in my opinion, probably one of the greatest leaps forward in gaming since the origin of gaming. Because it was
the GameCube was good.
Forward.
The GameCube was good. That was before things sort of got a little bit more iterative, like just sort of, is that the right word? Like they just sort of slowly changed. Like the difference between PlayStation 3 and 5 is kind of just the graphics look a bit nicer. But the GameCube around that era was when things were they were different. They took chances. And that's also when you got the Nintendo Wii as well afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably like the last time we saw anything really that interesting with gaming.
See, for me...
Do you want to know a really interesting factoid about the Nintendo Wii?
Sure.
The last game that was ever released for the Nintendo Wii was November of last year.
What?
Really?
It was Dance Dance Revolution 2020.
Of course it was.
And in a small town in China, there is a line of 150 million people waiting to get that game for the Wii U as well.
Dance Dance Revolution, amazing.
Oh, they're crazy about that game.
Yeah, it was produced all the way into 2020, even though the Wii was discontinued 13 years ago. So it's crazy.
That is wild. See, for me, like when I think of the last system that I feel like that was like groundbreaking, I remember waiting in line to get the Sega Dreamcast. Like that for me, because the controller had the memory card that you can play games on it, separate from the controller, had the weird controller. It was the first game system that had you had internet, but it was 56K dial-up.
It was, yeah.
It was and it was the first system. If you're a kid at home, you can like go to a dirty website and stuff too when your parents are sleeping. Like it was a clever thing. I mean, and it was unique, and it had like it was the first time like they're really starting to push the lineups of the sporting games, the 2K series that were really more intricate than just pressing A to swing a bat. It was really like it was so ahead of its time it failed. But no, like Dreamcast for me was oh, it was such a fit. But I mean, there was a game on there that because the other day I got a package in the mail and I still don't know who it's from. But it was like this, like, it looks like a Nintendo NES, but it has like 7,000 games on it. And I got it, and I was like, well, it was definitely a birthday present, but I'm like, who the hell sent it to me? So I still have no idea who gave it to me, but it has like all these nostalgia games on it, and it was really, and I was like, well, this is cool, like playing old Nintendo games, some Sega games on there, but on Dreamcast. I think it was called Blue Quest or something, but it was this game where your helicopter you're trying to go to a cruise ship that's broken down in the middle of the ocean, and you're on a helicopter and the helicopter crashes and you have to get to the cruise ship. And when you get there, you find that there was an infection on the cruise ship that turned everyone into zombies, and you have to try to find a way to get off the cruise ship. And
is it called Blue Stinger?
Yes. That's exactly what it was called. And that game, I played that so much when that first came out. Because it had 17 different endings. It had all these different ways to do things. It was so ahead of its time. And I loved it. And there was one ending I could never get. And I watched like tutorials to get to this damn ending. And I never got it. And I was getting so frustrated I gave up on it. But I think that Anthony now is ready to get all that old stuff and try to get to that 17th ending.
You can do it. I mean, I think you'll find the game's terrible now, but
I don't.
I'm pretty because as you were talking about it, I was like, I watched a YouTube video about that like just a few weeks ago. Someone talking about Resident Evil game clones, and that's one of them because it's very much that style of game.
100%.
And I watched a bit of it, and the voice acting's like horrific, as a lot of it was at the time. That was one of those games where I remember seeing imagery and videos of that when I was a kid, and I was like, "Oh my god, it looks like the future." And now we look back at this stuff and sort of go, maybe it wasn't quite so futuristic.
Well, but you can think about it. That game came out in. Let me see. I have it up here because I'm going to pull an image on the screen in just a second. But Blue Stinger came out in 99. It was one of the first games to come out with Dreamcast when it came out in 99. But yeah, I mean, God, I don't know. There was something about it's so damn something I really loved about that game that I was like hooked. Here, I'm gonna pull the image of the artwork on it. Here we go, and thank God for this new update. So this was there it is, and it was. Dude, I'm telling you. I know it in like now. You're probably 100% right. I'll probably play it and it'll be garbage. But like at that time, I forgot.
Oh yeah,
Dinosaur Island. I forgot it was called Dinosaur Island.
What a name!
Oh yeah, Dinosaur Island.
There was to be fair, I would love to play that now as well.
It is clever. It is.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is too, it's hard to find some of these games. So like that's why I'm looking for these like I guess mod boxes that have like a Dreamcast emulator on it and just. Mm-hmm. Have it on there, so if I don't like it, then I'm not out $1 million.
It's 100% one of those things where I really want to start revisiting that stuff from my youth quite a lot now. I just think because it kind of brings back these sort of feelings of happiness in a way, and that makes it sound like I'm really not happy, which is not what I mean. But it's like I think you just sort of see these things from the past. And I mean, I guess that's what nostalgia is, isn't it? Right. This is what everyone gets when you think back about stuff, but video games and toys and stuff, I think they have a real visceral connection with that sort of time in your youth, I guess. And I just really want to get more into it at the moment. I want to have more time to dedicate to spending money on things on eBay, I guess.
Yeah, that shit
was I think
really
I'd really also love to get in touch with the things of my youth as well, but I think I'm just too far disconnected from those years. Like I think there's just too much time that's passed since my youth to really like get back in touch with those things,
Bailey, I'm pretty sure.
There was.
Bailey, if you go to the clearance section at Walmart, all the stuff that was from your youth is probably now on sale. It's still there.
Whatever.
Hey, do you know what? Right? I'll say something now. Bailey, your artwork belies your age. As in, I think you create artwork like someone that is older than you are, and I mean that in a nice way.
I appreciate it.
Bailey, when is your birthday?
I will say, while we're talking about what's up, Anthony.
When is your birthday?
The 24th of next month.
So you'll be able to drink a beer next month. Is that what you're telling me?
No. What?
just busting your chops.
No, but I also like on the topic of drinking a beer, everyone's always like, "Oh, I had a fake ID in college." I never had a fake ID because I've always had the beard since I was like 15 years old. And so the trick to getting past that when you don't have a fake ID is when you walk up to the entrance of the bar, you pull out your phone and pretend you're on a call and go, did you file my quarterly taxes? I told you we had to file the Q1 reports. Oh, hang on one second. Is it okay if I go in? Sorry. And then the bouncer will just be like, oh no, he's filing his quarterly taxes. That, like, he's like a 33-year-old man, but in reality, I'm a college sophomore just trying to get in and get a drink for free. But no, on the topic of talking about games from like our youth when we were younger, again, this is like years ahead of the Blue Stinger and everything on the Dreamcast and everything, but I talked about it earlier about Pokemon Fire Red. I was a huge Pokemon kid growing up just because, like, I was from a really small town in the middle of nowhere in New York. And so I just really liked kind of the escapism of going into this world where it was just like, you just kind of get lost in it for hours and hours and hours. And every time you play it, it's a whole different, like, game, essentially. But on the GameCube, there's this game called Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, which I feel like is a big forgotten Pokemon game.
I
But
don't know.
it was this weird concept where there was a shadow Lugia, like, compared to the regular Lugia that exists, like, in the Pokemon 1, like, in all of those original Pokemon movies. There was a shadow Lugia that this new organization was trying to harness the power of. And what was really innovative is this was the first three-dimensional open world Pokemon game. Like, it was completely like, it wasn't top down, it wasn't like at a slight angle, it was completely like three-dimensional. You got to move through buildings, like the Pokemon battles happened in the overworld, and so it wasn't like how in all the original Pokemon games you went to, like, the 2-point perspective between like your Pokemon and the other opponent's Pokemon. It was just like crazy innovative thing, and there was a Coliseum in there even before Pokemon Coliseum came out. But it was like, it's such a forgotten game in that franchise, which is so sad because there's so much going for it. And when I was in college, I couldn't get my hands on a GameCube without spending an arm and a leg, and I didn't have money in college. And so I tried to get an emulator for my computer, and I remember I had to take it to Best Buy because I completely fried my computer trying to run a full GameCube game on the computer. Because it was, it's a beefy game. It's a 3-dimensional, like, open world, like, way more complicated than any other Pokemon game to ever exist. But like, now, I mean, I obviously, like you, Dan, I'm way too busy to do anything other than work, other than like watch TV shows and stuff while I'm working. But when I have more time and when I'm able to kind of break free a little bit, I want to try and track down a GameCube specifically to play that game, because I know, I can play Sword and Shield on the Switch if I want to, but like, it's not the same. Like, it doesn't have that original flair that game had. And it was such a cool, weird storyline about a Pokemon that doesn't even exist, that's based on one of the most, like, well-known Pokemon to ever exist. And so it's sad how forgotten it is.
I've not even heard of that, and I generally know of most of those Pokemon games. I played the very original one on the Game Boy. I did play that. That was
the
quite
red
fun.
and blue cartridge.
It was great. I think I played almost every, like. What's up, Anthony?
No, I said the old red and blue cartridge, and then if you were lucky at Christmas time, they put out the old Pikachu edition, the yellow one.
They did, yeah.
Good
times.
When I was, my first system that I ever bought on my own was a Game Boy Color from a yard sale, and so that was even before the Advance came out. It was a Game Boy Color from a yard sale, and it was broken, and so it wouldn't stay on unless it was plugged into the wall charging. And it just so happened the Pokemon cartridge that I got with it was silver, and that also was corrupted, and so I couldn't create a save file. And so it pretty much set up this system where whenever I started playing the game, I had to play it until it accidentally got unplugged, because if it accidentally got unplugged, the entirety of the game got erased. And I remember, like, I had to tell my parents when I was growing up, I was like, I'm leaving this here in the living room while we're going to the soccer game or whatever. I'm like, do not unplug it, because I have invested 30 hours into this game, and the second that you unplug it, it's gone.
I mean, the thing is that's kind of what gaming was in the 90s. Like, when you were playing the Genesis or Super Nintendo or whatever, like, there weren't save files. It was like, get as far as you can get, then it's time to go and have your dinner.
The only thing that you had back in the day was if you had the Game Genie for the Nintendo, which was the hack, it would save your location but it wasn't until PS1 came out with the memory cards that you were able to save your file.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
there's I can't remember what game it is, but there's some horror game that it broke the fourth wall to the point where it made you think your save file was corrupted by displaying a message on the
Silent
screen
Hill.
that looked like it was a message from. It was Silent Hill.
Yep, Silent Hill 2 is when it was in the third part of the game, because I remember this because it was I'll never forget this. It was Silent Hill. Yeah, it was you were going back into Silent Hill. The bell hits toll. The nurses start coming out, and then it says, "Do you want to save your location?" You do, and the screen starts going fuzzy, and it says "corrupt, corrupt, corrupt,"
Yeah.
and then it looks like it powers down, and then it comes back on.
Oh man, I don't have any memory of that. That's
Dude,
amazing.
pissed me off because for about
But
a minute and a half, I thought I fucked up, and I'm like, it took me forever to get here.
that's exactly the same era when Metal Gear Solid, the first one, came out, and it had the crazy stuff where what's his name, the villain Psycho Mantis. He's like he's sort of, you can't beat him, and you have to pick up a second controller that's plugged into the second port because he can't read your mind if you're using the second controller. Like it didn't.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy sort of weird stuff like that, and then he would tell you what you had saved on your PlayStation as part of the game. So it was sort of like really breaking the fourth wall. Like you don't get stuff like that anymore.
No.
And that was crazy.
It's funny you say that because there's a game that came out recently from Remedy Entertainment called Control, which anyone that plays like any recent games or anything, like Control, in my opinion, other than Ghost of Tsushima, is like one of the biggest masterworks of gaming to come out in the last like 5 years.
Hey, I'll be right back, guys.
But Control, when you get to the end of the game, bye Anthony. Control, when you get to the end of the game, you essentially like you play through the first part of Endgame, and then it's like, cool, you finish the game. It is what it is. Like you finish your quest that you were trying to do, and the credits start rolling. But the entire thing with Control is like it's this extraterrestrial force that's like coming in and corrupting people. And so as the credits start to roll, they start to get like slightly more distorted as it slowly goes on. And then like all of a sudden there's just like all this copy that goes over the entirety of the screen that's just like really cryptic stuff, like push them out, like nothing is real, like stuff like that. And it's just like that just fills the entire screen, and then that starts getting distorted, and then it gets to the point where like the audio starts getting distorted. And so it makes you think that you're like, I finished this game, but like, am I getting corrupted? Like, am I part of the hiss now? And then you go into the secondary ending of the game where, and like I feel like I can talk about spoilers because this game has like, you know, they remastered it already. The Ultimate Edition came out for PS5 and whatnot, but you get to the end of the game, you get through the distorted credits, and then there's a second ending to the game where you're now overtaken by the hiss. And so the credits are rolling while you think you're starting to get taken over by this mind control. And then you get the second ending where you are taken over by this mind control that you have to like break free of. And so like, I haven't seen some sort of something like that ever since, I think it was Donkey Kong Country 2, where King K. Rool, you finish that fight first, and then the credits start rolling, and then you start realizing that a lot of the credits are as if they were written by King K. Rool, and then he gets back up, and there's a second part of the fight that starts.
Yeah. I mean, I really love stuff like that, especially in video games, because I think they're a very, very unique way of telling a narrative story of some sort, like that you can't do with film. Like you can break the fourth wall with film or with comics and stuff, but with video games, you're actually in control, where you're partaking. Yeah. You are part of the experience, and I find that fascinating. And
it's for that exact reason why I can't play horror games. Because horror video games compared to horror movies are like an entirely different, like that's an entirely different species of horror. I mean, can't do it.
Horror-based video games, really, I will often do it in the dark as well, probably on my own, and they really, it really does. Fear. Yeah, I love fear. Yeah, but it really does. It is a very, very unique experience. So I am very much into that sort of form of storytelling.
Have you played Layers of Fear?
No, I do know of it though. Yeah.
Horrifying, absolutely horrifying. Sorry for cutting you off. I just wanted to ask you if you played that yet.
No. Do you know what? That's one that's on. That's something like paintings and stuff, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the painter that like slowly descends into madness and
Of course,
memory
of
and
course,
stuff like
of
that.
course.
It's a really like surreal horror game. Like a lot, in my opinion, like Outlast is probably the most well-known horror game to come out within recent memory. Like
Do you know what
apart from,
that's one where I actually didn't finish it because that one did creep me out a bit too much.
It's really scary,
ask.
and it was one of the most popular games.
Yeah.
It was one of the most popular games lately to involve like the whole mechanic of like preserve your camera battery, preserve your flashlight batteries, like because you have to watch what's going on in your surroundings as well as what's happening in your immediate like self with the power of the tech that you need to use to survive. And then you have like Alien Isolation with like the AI that learns what you're doing, and just like horror games. There's been leaps and bounds of tech and advancement in the last couple of years, and that's I think why I've slowly been like backing away from them, because I'm like I love horror movies,
too real
thrillers, but like when you play them, it's like you're in that experience, you're immersed in that, especially like horror VR games. I don't know who thought of that. I don't know who thought that would be a good idea, but it's not a good idea. It's horrible.
I'm not going there, not yet.
It's horrible. I tried it once and it was just probably the worst mistake I've ever made in my entire life.
Well, I will say, this is definitely before your time, Bailey. There was a game, it was a board game with a VHS tape called Nightmare. I don't know if it was across the pond.
Yes.
Do you remember that? The Gatekeeper?
Mm-hmm.
Bailey, once we're done with this,
yeah.
you're going to have to go watch it, because that is, I'm actually, for some reason, it popped up on eBay, and I'm bidding on that as well. I'm literally bid on like 17 things since doing the show.
Oh my God.
Yeah, my wife is going to be like, you aren't doing this fucking show anymore. I just keep seeing all this nostalgia. I'm like, oh, I got to get that, got to get this. This is recommended. But I used to love that game because it was the Gatekeeper. It was kind of like a funny, scary thing. But with that being said, we are at the 2-minute warning.
Wait, we barely talked about Justice League.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Justice League.
Do you know what that means?
Have to do a second episode just about Justice
Round
League.
4 with Dan and Bailey with Justice League. I think it's just an ongoing conversation that never truly ends.
Yeah, I like that idea.
I think the best way to end the show is, what are you watching and what do you recommend someone to watch? Dan, with you being the guest, give us your take.
Okay, currently I'm watching a very English TV show called Line of Duty. And it's all about corruption within the police force, and it's amazing. I reckon that would probably translate very well across to America. No, because it's really entertaining, and it's like, look, if you like Downton Abbey, it's nothing like that. It's all about London coppers, bad coppers, people doing bad things, but it's really entertaining. It's very big over here at the moment. So.
Bailey, what are you watching now?
I am rewatching Midnight Gospel. I don't know if you guys have seen Midnight Gospel or not, but it is an absolutely fantastic show. It's Duncan Trussell. He pretty much like has his podcast guests, and they play recordings of the podcast as well, doing animations that Pendleton Ward creates. So the creator of Adventure Time. So it's like a really weird mishmash of like Adventure Time mixed in with like really bright neon colors, and then Duncan Trussell talking with people about really hard, heavy-hitting, like philosophical questions. Super entertaining. And I've also started, I had to look it up on my Netflix so I can remember the name, but there's a show called Shadow and Bone that just came out on Netflix. It's based on a young adult book series. But it's this like really weird, like kind of like Industrial Revolution meets Victorian London meets like somehow Lord of the Rings meets superheroes, like kind of this like weird mishmash of things. And then obviously just finished Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and Invincible is ongoing, so I'm gonna keep watching that. But I would recommend those three: Invincible, Shadow and Bone, and Midnight Gospel.
Nice. Right now, because I'm lucky because I'm in America, I'm watching HBO Max, and I am watching The Outsider. The Outsider is a Stephen King show where it's basically, the first episode is, how can someone murder someone if they're in a total different state at the exact same time a murder's happening, but they have video of both of that exact same person in a conference and murdering someone at the same time. It's interesting, and I love it, and I would highly recommend that. But for Dan Mumford, who is in London and doesn't get anything until years later.
I was going to say, yeah, I guess I'll never find out.
We'll circle back in 2 years after you watch this, the finale, Dan.
I mean, what is going on? We're in an internet age, a digital age. We should be able to get this all at the same time. It's very frustrating.
I'm going to email somebody right now. But anyway.
Thanks. Okay, take care of it, yeah.
I hope everyone enjoyed this first episode of X Gets to Square, which, honest to God, makes no sense for what the hell we did today. But guess what? X gets the square. Maybe because we have a bunch of squares on the screen and X marks it. I have no idea. Bailey, thank you so much. We'll be doing this again next month. I don't know date yet. We're going to figure that out over the next few weeks. We'll start promoting that. Dan, as always, it's always a pleasure to talk to you because you have so much cooler of an accent than I'll ever have. And until next time, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you this week. I have another show coming out on Friday, Rob and Anthony's World Tour. Next week, I am out of the studio in Kansas City. I don't know what to expect there. And then until then, buy Dan and Bailey shit. Right?
Oh, yeah, buy all of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Buy everything you can.
Oh, I thought you were saying buy to us.
Yeah, I thought you were saying
buy
buy.
No.
Yeah, that's
No,
Dan,
buy
we're
our
on the same
stuff.
page,
Buy their
but we're
stuff.
on the wrong page.
Yeah,
Buy our stuff.
buy
And
their
goodbye.
stuff.